So do these new revelations about James Comey and Hillary Clinton prove that the fix was in? Or is this much ado about nothing? That's just how they do it over at the FBI. Joining me now, she's the co-host of The 5 on the Fox News channel, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Hi, welcome back.
Hi, thanks. Great to be back.
Was the fix in with Comey? Had he decided long before the conclusion of the investigation that Hillary Clinton was innocent?
There was many that surmised that before, and now there's actually some factual indicia, some evidence to be able to support that theory by the drafts of these emails. And it shows that the FBI, maybe it's two different departments not communicating with one another, but in a previous FOIA request that they had requested, the information, there was a mention of it, and then now they say, oh, they don't have it as it relates to the Clinton email investigation. So when you put two and two together, they in fact had it. So who's lying, who's covering up? And it shows at the very least that Comey may have perjured himself.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who has a book coming out. This is something he should have to testify, in front of Congress about and in front of a committee to get to the bottom of it. But I think this is very, very damaging because the emails suggest, and the drafts of them, that specifically he was formulating his conclusion prior to even interviewing Hillary or any of the other witnesses.
2 months before. They had a long way to go in the investigation. They had not come to the conclusion or the truth, but it seems as though he had already decided in May of 2016,
right.
July 2nd of 2016, that's when he interviewed Hillary Clinton. July 5th is when he came out and said, oh, she was reckless, but we're not recommending charges.
And no reasonable prosecutor would bring the case overstepping his bounds as well then, but that just even goes to show you it's further proof that he wanted to be judge and jury. His job as the head of the FBI was to investigate it, and then the charging decision is supposed to be made by the Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynch. And instead he says, no, there's no evidence to support this. He can't bring the charge. He had already preformed that conclusion 2 months prior, at a minimum. That's at least we know when he did this draft to already come to a determination. How do you do that if you haven't even interviewed the subject and the target of the investigation?
And there's so many ways that they could have proven that she was not telling the truth.
Right.
And not to mention just flat out lying. There were so many statements that she made publicly, and all those agents had to do was confront her with those.
Absolutely.
And she would have perjured herself. Now, we don't know if she did that because we have to rely on his testimony and some of the notes, but the agents who were working on the case were very frustrated. I'm also wondering, did Comey perjure himself when he talked about notes in regards to the conversation that he had with Loretta Lynch, debriefing her about that tarmac meeting with former President Clinton?
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, and this drags Loretta Lynch into it on a whole other level as well. What kind of conversations did they have when he was briefing her on it? Did he have notes that were contemporaneous with it? Did she have notes that were contemporaneous with it? What exactly was the subject of those conversations? What was any conversation that they had during the time that he was supposedly drafting these emails, coming to the foregone conclusion that there was no wrongdoing and the investigation should go nowhere as it relates to Hillary Clinton? So I think she's actually in trouble too, because the tentacles of this are dragging her into it as well. I mean, Jim Comey has a lot of explaining to do. He came off that he was holier than thou and the most principled person on the planet.
So distraught by Loretta Lynch's directing him to say that it was a matter, and excuse me, I get choked up. A matter, not an investigation. That, he didn't believe Loretta Lynch. He didn't appreciate that she had met with the former president. But at the same time, it looks like he's protecting her.
It does look like he's protecting her. So that's exactly the point. Let's see what she has to say about it at this point, because, I mean, maybe she wants to clear up a few things because he hasn't made her look very good at all. And he tried to put the blame on her, but now it looks, I mean, what more kind of proof do you need that he, in fact, had determined that this was not going to be prosecuted or go any further, that he thought that there was no wrongdoing, that no reasonable DA or prosecutor should bring a case against her? It seems like the fix was in.
If nothing else, then Mueller should expand the investigation to include Comey and Loretta Lynch. Regardless of any past relationships, there has to be some justice here because so far it has not been served.
Agree. Accountability. That's immediately. Right. Stat.
Kimberly Guilfoyle, so nice to see you again twice in one day.
Well.